Hello, all, and welcome to the Movie Bears podcast. This is episode 523 of our show. Started in 2012. It's now 2025, so we're 13 years going strong. Crazy to think about. And yet here we are once again entering movie awards season. There is a big movie award show coming up, and we're not fucking talking about the Oscars. We're talking about the MBP Awards. That's right, our yearly superlative show where we hand out awards for things that we love to celebrate about film. Will was talking in the pre-show chat. He had this really cool analogy. If our best films of 2024 was like the main, what did you say, Will?
It's like the touchdown moment, the end zone dance.
Yeah,
like it's the big explosion, the big hurrah. Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And our award show is kind of like that, like cool after dark after party thing. That was such a great way of putting that. Well, so we are really excited to hand out some awards tonight. And if you are listening live, feel free as we're going through our categories to hand out some awards of your own. If you're listening to the magic of digital tape delay on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc., feel free to comment on Facebook, YouTube, wherever you like to access us, and let us know what your picks are. We still want to hear them. But before we dive into our award ceremonies, you heard a little bit from my co-hosts already, but let's formally introduce them. Jim Pugliafico is with us here on the show from 30 feet down the hall. Hi, sweetheart. How you doing?
Yep. So close, but yet so far away. Yes, I'm doing good. I'm here ready to put a bow on 2024 because, hey, it's 2025 and there's already 2025 movies we have to watch and talk about. And like I said, we're celebrating movies again this week. We did it 2 weeks ago with our top 10. So this is just another way we do it, and I'm here for it.
Mm-hmm. Me too. And there's one more voice that is absolutely essential to any good movie award show. William Lindis is here with us as well. Hey, Will, how are you?
Hey, Brad, Jim. Hey, everyone out there taking photos of the celebs on the red carpet. We're here to have a hell of an MBP award ceremony tonight. Look, this is, I said in our top 10 episode, that's my favorite episode of the year. And it is. That is the celebration of all things film. This is like a close second for me, right? Because this one, we get to really celebrate not just the films themselves, but some of those weird moments and emotions and just the things that make those films special for us. So I'm really excited to see the categories, to hear what you guys picked out, maybe some of your reasoning for it. And I'm just also excited to be here with you after being out for last week for a work trip and just, being already a month into one of the most hellacious years in American politics. I feel like we all needed tonight. So let's get down to it.
We need something, Will. This might be it.
Well, I'm really excited as well. This is one of my favorite shows that we do every year, and we have so much to talk about. I think we should probably just get right down to it. But Jim, for anyone who's maybe tuning in that hasn't listened to the last 8 years or whatever we've been doing this, maybe you could give us a little bit of brief setup. What the fuck are the Movie Bears Podcast Awards? What's it all about? How do we do it? What do people need to know?
Okay. Yeah, so welcome. If this is your second, third, fourth, fifth, or 10th time listening to the Movie Bears Podcast Awards, we're glad to have you back. But if it's your first time, these are the awards that are like another way of celebrating the films of 2024. That is special to that's special in a way to us, right? Your Movie Bears, the only Movie Bears that count, by the way. anyway, these aren't just our favorite films of the year. Like we mentioned before, our top 10 show was covered a couple of weeks ago on a previous episode, so check that out. But um, this is about our special MBP award categories, which are certainly not the same ones being talked about now that the Oscar nominations just came out. The Golden Globes have been awarded already. Because as some say, like, fuck the Oscars, right? I mean, like, I'm not sure I say that because I usually end up watching at least some of it. But yeah, we're gonna do something a little bit different. And our awards, our MBP awards, are kind of organized into categories. There are 10 categories we're going to cover that are kind of important to us, tailored to our specific emotional reactions that we have when watching films. And maybe some of these categories will resonate with you too. So I hope you have some ideas. And if you do have your own nominees or winners in the categories that we run through here, please, please, please feel free to let us know in the live chat as you watch along. But one thing I will say before we get started, because we're all excited to get started on these 10, please know that we might spoil and likely will spoil some of or at least some moments in these films this year. So be warned, you might hear a bit of spoilers. We're not generally going to spoil entire movies, but we may spoil moments in movies. So just want to put that out there so everybody's aware of that up front. We usually are pretty good about spoilers. We will let you know if we're going to do spoilers, and in this one, we're going to drop some spoilers because our categories are based on a lot of categories we have are based on moments in movies, which we'll talk about. So, are we ready to roll?
Right. I think so. Yeah. Will, are you ready to rock this thing?
Let's see. It says right here, and the award goes to yes. We're ready to proceed.
All right. Well, then let's do it. Here we go. The 2025 MBP Awards. Jim, I imagine when you've done the editing for the audio version of the show, which is how 99% of people access it, which, by the way, why aren't you watching live on YouTube or Facebook so you can see our faces? You'll have inserted some kind of cool fanfare, something to juice people up, jazz people up. Probably not steroids. But,
I mean,
hey.
Yeah, jazz them up. Let's do it.
All right,
Grab
we're going to kick things off. We're going to kick things off with our first category, which is biggest shocker. This is the movie that shouldn't have been good, but yet somehow was. So, yeah, Jim, let's launch into this one. What was your biggest shocker of 2024?
Yeah, so this definitely this is one of the easier ones of the categories this year. This is a movie that I had zero expectations. As a matter of fact, I probably had negative expectations going into this film. And I walked out saying, wow, that film really surprised me. I really enjoyed that film. And I'm totally back on board if they make more films like this around this franchise. And this one is Transformers 1. This was the animated origin story of Optimus Prime and is it Megatron? Is that right, babe? Yeah. Great story, great animation, fantastic voice acting, a sharp script that was both compelling, emotionally, emotionally drawing you in and funny at the same time. So yeah, Transformers 1 was the biggest surprise of the movie this year, of the film of the year. I think it might have made my top 10 if I recall correctly, but I don't have that. I don't have that up in front of me. That's how good this movie was. This wasn't just a mild surprise. This was a big surprise.
Yeah, this one I believe made both of y'all's top tens, if I'm not mistaken. In
We did.
fact,
Speaking of spoilers,
You don't
yeah.
know
Speaking
me,
of
Will.
spoilers,
You
yeah.
don't know me.
Hey, what I do know is this was number 10 on Jim's top 10 list.
it was at
Perhaps
one
number
time. It was on. It was the pick for all three of us.
Oh no, not for this topic. Not for this topic. I'm talking about our
I
top
thought
10
it
Our
list.
top 10 lists. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Crazy.
This did make your top 10.
Yep, sure did. Well, yeah, Jim,
Yeah.
I know
Worth it.
you know, you unlike Will and I didn't grow up with like the Transformers cartoons and comics and toys, and
No.
you're the Michael Bay Transformer films, which they're not great.
I mean,
so
I knew what Transformers were. That's
sure, yeah. But you had a lot of like Michael Bay PTSD, I think, from those films. So
oh God, yes.
I can understand being a little wary. All right, well, that was Jim's biggest shocker. Will, what was your biggest shocker?
Well, it
Oh,
was
boy, I
almost
did it wrong.
Transformers 1. And for the same reason you just mentioned, which is the PTSD, the stress, just the look on this show. We'll sometimes cover kind of whatever the biggest movie of the week is, which a lot of times is a great way to do it. But sometimes it means that we're covering some stuff that's just not great. And we've sat through a lot of Transformers movies on this show in the past. So this was a good pick here. It was almost my pick, but instead of robots, I went with monkeys. And specifically, I chose the movie Better Man. The reason this movie made my biggest shocker list is because it does something that doesn't always happen for me. And that's, it made me give a shit about a sort of a by the numbers, Wikipedia-esque musical biopic. This is all about Robbie Williams, one of the biggest chart toppers from the UK. You would have seen him in Take That. He had some crossover hits here. I remember when I was sort of like in high school, we got a few of those songs kind of crept over into our Total Request Live or whatever it was that, would play videos for us. The twist with this one is they show this entire movie with him being portrayed as this CGI monkey. And the idea behind it is he's sort of this performing monkey for everyone. So these human people are just interacting with this CGI monkey in a leather jacket or in a fine suit or dancing through the streets. This concept is fucking wild and it shouldn't work. But it does. It does work really well. It makes the musical numbers a lot of fun and really kinetic. It makes the exploration of the character, which, all biopics do, but sometimes don't do a great job of. I think it works here. It elevates what could have been a by the numbers biopic. So Better Man is good. And I think it's still playing in a few theaters right now. This one sort of had a rollout over the end of last year, but it's still kind of out there in some places. So I would really recommend it. Or Transformers 1. I go back and forth between the two, but Better Man's my pick just to sort of, get some organic in there with your robots, Jim.
I've heard good things about this, Will. I didn't get to see it yet, but or we didn't get to see it, but we're kind of in a monkey science right now. Like if you think of it, right? Because we've had the Monkey Man, right, which was the Dev Patel film that we saw at South by Southwest last year. This one, Better Man, and we had a Planet of the Apes movie this year.
Yes, we
did.
And we have another film coming up soon from Oz Perkins.
Yep.
Called The Monkey. I think it's called The Monkey. I don't know.
Yeah, it's sort of like
it's 4 monkey films, like in
the new Monkey Shines movie. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it's the year of the. It's not the year of the monkey. I think it's the year of the dragon. But it could be the year of the monkey.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Oh, a lot of monkey business. Get it? Because it's a business using monkeys to make money.
Yeah, absolutely. It tracks.
But the shocker here, Will, is you said, like, if you think about this premise and you watch the trailer, you're like, what the hell is this? Like, this no way. Like, this can't be any good.
Oh,
apparently it is.
It's bananas.
So good. All right.
All
Well, that was Will's biggest shocker. For mine, I thought we were going to have an MBP hat trick on this list. I was trying not to look at y'all's choices in the spreadsheet that we put together, but I saw Transformers 1 across the board and I was like, oh my God, hat trick. But that's okay. Our lists were not locked in until the moment we
Nope.
went live. But spoiler alert, this was Transformers 1 for me as well. You can ask Jim when we saw the first trailer for that movie when it came out last year. He turned to me and he's like, are you excited for that? Because he knows I grew up with Transformers and I love Optimus Prime. And I just sagged in my seat like disgust or ennui from Inside Out 2.
Which
I
was
just
sad
like,
for me to see because I know how much of a fan you are.
you do. You walk in on me in my pajama pants, drinking coffee, watching Generation 1 Transformers on YouTube. And so yeah, with this movie, I was just like, oh God, it looks like a terrible comedy. Super not into it. Chris Hemsworth as fucking Optimus Prime. Are you fucking kidding me? And this movie ended up being incredible. It's probably one of my most favorite Transformers things ever. This movie absolutely should have been terrible by all clues from that first trailer. But y'all, I think the marketing was just totally fucked for this movie. I don't think they knew how to market it. It's really like a coming of age like drama with a few comedic elements, and they really marketed it, at least at first, as a big old like comedy for 4-year-olds. And it's it's absolutely not like pure fart jokes or anything. It was really, really great. It did make my top 10 list. It was fantastic. And I'm really surprised that it was as good as it was.
Mm-hmm. There you go. We didn't
So,
quite get the hat trick, but we got a DP out of it.
Yeah, which for this category, biggest shocker, I think it's appropriate.
yeah,
The old DP.
when you get that DP, sometimes your eyes just go wide and you're like, wow, that's more than I expected.
We might have more DPs later on. We'll see.
Absolutely. We're going to be talking about directors of photography, which is an important category. When
not what we meant.
Not what we
William,
meant.
but
Okay, different thing. All right.
All right. Let's move on to our next category because we got a lot of awards to hand out tonight. But congratulations to our winners thus far. Our next category is Best Surprise Performance. This is the acting performance that came absolutely out of nowhere. This could be an unknown actor just knocking it out of the park, or maybe even an established actor reaching new heights. William Lindis gets credit, by the way, for a lot of the verbiage behind these categories. Will, you don't get enough credit as our like spreadsheet / writer person. So this is the moment we shine the spotlight on you. Thanks for putting this together for us and giving us some really good copy to work from. We appreciate you.
Absolutely. To that comment, I say in cell F3 equals smiley face.
Yeah, I mean, all the sports metaphors in this category description alone is like totally worth it.
Hey, I know a sports ball sometimes.
Yeah.
All right.
Ball, basketball, pole vaulting, whatever you want to say.
We definitely know all about pole vaulting on this show. That's for sure. In any event, Jim, let's start with you. What was your best surprise performance?
There were a lot of great performances this year when I think through the performances that really that I took notice of this year. But some of them are from actors where you kind of expect great performances out of. So I can't really put, unless they reached new heights, it didn't really fit. So I went with one that kind of fit both of the criteria stated here, which is, came out of nowhere, at least for me. This actor is not necessarily like a brand new actor, but maybe an established actor who's taking a giant step up. And that is Mikey Madison. She is the lead in a movie called Anora, Sean Baker's film Anora, which I really liked from this year. And she's in almost every scene of this movie because it isn't. She does amazingly well. She has to. There's some hard stuff that she does in here. There's some action stuff. There's some uh, really emotional stuff. There's some really quiet emotional stuff in here, which surprised me. But yeah, Mikey Madison is an actor I'm going to be keeping eyes on for the next thing she does. But yeah, Mikey Madison in Anora.
That's an honorable choice, Jim.
She's adorable. Yeah.
And this one was very close to my pick as well. I know we've talked a lot about Anora on this show, right? And we've talked about how good Mikey Madison is here. In fact, this is another one where I was sort of down to the wire thinking like, is this Mikey's category? And for me, I find myself often slanting this category for myself towards people who are on sort of like a meteoric uprise, the people who are maybe 2 or 3 films in and about to do their whatever it is, sort of like, about to take off, which is, I think, where Mikey is. This time I shifted over towards an established actress who I haven't seen much from recently and who recently blew me away in The Substance. I'm talking about Demi Moore. Yeah, so Demi Moore's performance here is great for a couple reasons. One, she's playing into this idea of sort of an aging actress who's having to deal with the fact that her age is now being weighed against her and her stock within the career that she's built. And I think that there's something very personal and vulnerable about an actress portraying that, and Demi Moore does that. But The Substance is also a goopy, weird, comedic, gross body horror movie on top of all of this, and Demi Moore leans into it. So it gets to be both of these things at the same time, sincere and true, and it makes you think about what it is to be someone who is aging and having to deal with that, and also just a fun, gross, Cronenberg-ish adjacent performance. I really liked Demi Moore in this. I liked all of the performances in this. Margaret Qualley is also fantastic here, but Demi Moore really put herself back on the map for me in a way that makes me say, hey, what's she doing next? Let's get Demi Moore in more things, like now.
Yeah, we haven't experienced that much Demi Moore body horror, since, I don't know, she was in some really fucked up movie in the 80s where she had like blood like spurting out of her arm everywhere. I can't remember the name of the movie now, but I remember just being a little grossed out in that scene because blood and I do not mix well together. And so, well, it's so funny that you choose Demi Moore for this, because when we went to see The Substance, I didn't know anything about the movie. I'd never seen a trailer. I didn't know who was in it. All I knew from Jim was, oh, it's like a horror movie. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I'm in for a horror movie. And then Demi Moore is on screen, and I'm like, oh, Demi Moore. I like Demi Moore. Oh boy, did we get some Demi Moore. First of all, mad kudos to her, for like being fully frontal naked in a film like this. That is some like dedication to the craft, and her acting was fucking phenomenal in this film. So she was almost my choice in this category. Well, I went back and forth. I'm so glad that you picked Demi Moore for this award, because now I can give it to who I'm giving it to without feeling guilty. Solid choice.
And now I'm curious as to who you picked.
Yeah. Who'd you pick?
All right. Well,
and I don't know.
For me, I gotta be honest with you. When Wicked was announced, I was like, who the fuck are they gonna get to play Elphaba and Glinda? And when the choices were announced, Ariana Grande as Glinda, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Really? She's gonna be Glinda? But holy fucking shitballs, she was amazing as Glinda. She absolutely knocked my socks off. And I was really worried going into the Wicked film that they were going to like Ariana like grande size the songs, right? Like add more elements of like her normal musical stylings. And a lot of people love her music, and I love that for them. I think that's great that they enjoy it. I don't. I'm not a big fan of her music in general. I have mad respect for her, but it's just not my personal like musical, whatever. But she did such an incredible job with these songs from Wicked, and Christian Turner, with all the love I have in my heart for you. When I want to hear popular now, I usually go to Ariana Grande's version rather than yours. I'm sorry. Please don't hate me. But I got to tell you, that's one of the big reasons why Ariana Grande is getting my award for Best Surprise Performance. The way she goes, just trips every trigger I have.
Goes like what? Love it. Love it.
Usually
that's
after a toss, so.
Toss. That's a good pick. I mean, like, this is a movie that really holds itself up on its little comedic and weird beats that sort of hold between the musical numbers and between kind of like the narrative thrust. And gosh, if Ariana Grande doesn't just kill the comedy on this, she is so damn funny in this with her affectations, with the way that she carries herself, her timing. She understands the material, and she understands where to find the comedy and where to find herself within the comedy of this script. So yeah, great pick.
Yeah, really surprising. I knew she was a performer. I didn't know much about her as an actor, and so maybe that's where the biggest surprise for me comes. Now, granted, she's singing in a different style than she normally does her pop stuff, which I'm not really very knowledgeable about either. But I thought she did a wonderful job singing here. But I think it's more the acting and the comedic touches that she threw in, understanding like where to emphasize certain little affectations or looks or whatever. I think really made that role, and I loved it.
She did a wicked good job for sure.
Wicked awesome.
Wicked good.
Wicked awesome. Wicked pissa.
Yeah, that's right. Jim's allowed. Jim's allowed to do it. Yeah.
It was wicked pissa.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to our next award category. Get your envelopes at the ready. It's time to open them up. This category is the movie that is most likely to get a rewatch. And that means it's a film that has pretty high chances of being, you guessed it, watched again. Right. So, Jim, let's start with you. Which film from 2024 is most likely to get a rewatch from you?
This is typically a hard category for me because there are so many good movies. I am not a big rewatcher. This movie that I picked is already one that I've rewatched once in theaters, and there could be like a handful of movies from my list this year, my top movies of the year, that I could pick from, and any of them could be a rewatch if you really challenged me. But this one is Challengers, of course. The reason it made it a little bit easier this year is because we recently talked about rewatching Challengers. We were watching the top 25, the Ehrlich top 25 video that is out. We watched it. I watched it yesterday. I didn't even know it was out till yesterday. I watched it, and I'm like, man, I got to rewatch that movie. Will, I'm sure you've seen it, but the editing job that he did on specifically with Challengers was hilarious and made me wanna watch it again. Plus, we have a friend that we want to introduce to it. So, yep, Challengers. That's my rewatch movie, and probably will be rewatching it pretty soon.
Yeah, and it's a great one. And yeah, that the Ehrlich top 25 video is sort of like it's like an event when that comes out, which is always fun. Just sort of like, people going like, oh gosh, it's out.
He gave it the gayest edit though that you could imagine.
Oh, 100%.
It's so good.
You wouldn't
Yeah.
even know
So good.
Zendaya is in the movie. Actually,
Yeah.
his edit.
Yeah, it is a very gay edit, and it made
Mhm.
me sort of like, gosh, I need to. Every time I see one of those, I haven't, because of just some of the stuff going on in my life. I wasn't able to make my own top 25 video this year,
I
and it really
understand.
made me want to
And
go
it's a
back
lot of
in.
work.
And it is a lot of work, but it made me kind of like go like, gosh, I really got to do that again because it's fun to watch. For
Next
me,
year,
next year. The most likely to get a rewatch is one that when this movie came out, I knew I was immediately going to purchase the Blu-ray. Like, it's one of those ones where it's not just like, oh, I'm going to see it again in theaters, because sometimes that happens, like with just, oh, I need to go see it with someone else. Yeah, that's important. Or yeah, when it comes on streaming, eventually see it. But when my first instinct is I have to own this movie because I know I'm going to watch it. That's usually a pretty good sign. It was my favorite movie of last year, and it was I Saw the TV Glow. I've rewatched it already. Sit on the Blu-ray. It looks so fucking good. It's like the A24 Blu-ray on it is it's a very good disc. And it just like this movie is so richly dense with themes, specifically of what it means to find yourself, what it means to find yourself in media, what it means to find yourself reflected back from media, and what it means to find yourself in yourself. At a time right now where we are erasing the word trans from government websites and erasing the rights of trans people, a movie that celebrates what it means to find yourself in your transness, I think is something that I especially feel good about celebrating. But on top of that, it's just a good fucking movie. Like, themes aside, it's just good and well done. I Saw the TV Glow. I'll be watching this again and again and again.
good pick, Will. Yeah, I when I saw the Ehrlich thing, not to overhype that, but there was a bunch of clips in there, and then it brought back to me like how visually unique that film is for the year. So no doubt that why you picked that one is one to get a rewatch, and I know how you connected to it.
And quite possibly my next tattoo as well. I've been kind of thinking about
Ooh.
getting. There's a. I may
thing
not
on the
get it in
neck?
the exact same spot, but the little neck tattoo.
Yeah.
I might be getting it a little further down, like between the shoulder blades. It's one of the ones I've. As soon as I'm kind of cleared to get my next tattoo, that's one of two that I'm thinking about. And so again, for it to permanently be a part of my body means something.
That's super
Awesome.
rad. Well,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Very cool.
Let's go from Rad to Brad.
For me, my award for the movie most likely to get a rewatch goes to Challengers. Watching that Ehrlich video, we should let Mr. Ehrlich know how much we enjoyed his video, and maybe like let him in on the love from our show to him. But
Sure.
it was a great edit. Super agree. And I'd already been thinking about rewatching Challengers. That movie has stuck with me since we saw it in theaters a couple months ago. And then we were chatting with our friend Kevin, who was over last night, and we were watching that. And he was like, "Oh, that looks like it could be good. You guys saw it before. You liked it, right?" And at the same time, Jim and I were both like, "Oh God, we should totally rewatch that." And Kevin was like, "Well, I haven't seen it. Like, maybe we could watch it." And so I think we're going to do a Challengers movie night, maybe in our projector room, whip up some homemade popcorn or something, do a little movie night action here with Challengers. But, if Zendaya could just come into our projector room and hang out with us, I wonder how weird and awkward it would be with 3 gay men in a movie room versus 2 sexually questionable men on a tennis court.
In a hotel
I don't know
room?
what that'd be like, in a hotel room, but I bet we'd figure it out. Anyway, Challengers is fucking fantastic. Cannot wait to see that one again for sure.
Okay. Awesome pick. On to the emotional part of our show.
You're not biased at all, by the way, in saying that that's a great pick. Like you have no
No,
horse
no,
in that race at all, right? Yeah,
no,
yeah.
no, no.
Totally unbiased.
Another
Okay.
DP.
It is another. Oh my God! Wait, challengers is double penetration for Ben Jim. How
Yeah,
about
how
that?
could that work? I don't know.
I
Wait a
mean,
second.
hey, wow. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Fun. Ah.
All right. On to the next award. This one is the biggest tearjerker. This could be a movie in itself, or it could be a specific scene from a movie. And one of the reasons I love this category and the way it's set up is that it doesn't have to just be like an entire movie. It can just be a specific scene. So, like, you might have seen a really shitty movie that for whatever reason had like the biggest tearjerker moment, right? So like you wouldn't normally give that movie some love, but you get to here. I don't know. It's kind of cool. I can't wait to see what y'all have come up with for this one. But what wrenched the tears from your body this past year, Jim? Go.
I had two things picked for this category. I am a crier in movies. I am. Certain scenes or movies will make me cry to a degree. But it has to be the right kind of like the right kind of emotional scene. Like if I sense any like, oh, this movie's trying too hard to make me cry, then it might actually work the opposite way. I'm going to pick one of these scenes and probably not mention the other one. I think the scene that was the most emotional for me this year was the scene in the movie Flow. I'll just call it the ascension scene with the secretary bird and the cat. And I'm not even sure. So this movie is totally dialogueless. It's not a lot of it is not explained except through the way it presents the story visually and through its music. I'm not even sure what happens in this scene, but I know that it's very powerful, and it has an effect on me like good art does. You know what I mean? And that's why I think the film, which was I think it was my number one film of the year. Um, I think it's kind of a miraculous little movie, and this scene really hits me hard emotionally. And again, for reasons that I can't really understand. I don't know if it's a scene that's centered around passing from one realm to the next, like a passing, a death, if you will, or what it is about that scene. But it really hits me hard, and I'll just say it's the ascension scene. If you haven't seen the movie Flow, you'll know when you see it which one I'm talking about.
Yeah, Jim, the scene that you call out uh is really, really powerful for sure. I didn't cry the first time we saw
Mm.
Flo in this scene. But the second time we saw Flo, I was bawling in this
Mm.
scene. So I don't know what happened between the first time and the second time, but lots of really big emotions there. And I was actually rewatching the scene before the show because I kind of figured this might end up on your list, and I wanted
Yeah,
to
yeah,
experience that again. So, Flow's an incredible movie, and yeah, like not to put a spotlight on you, but like I rarely hear you like audibly crying in movies. You usually like
yeah.
discreetly like cover it up with like moving your coat or the popcorn bucket or whatever. But like when you can hear Jim crying in a movie, like that's a
He
big deal.
wipes
So.
away a single manly
I will admit
tear.
it now, but if you ask me any other time outside the show, I do not cry in movies.
All right. Great choice. Great choice. All right. Well, what was your biggest tearjerker?
I don't know if y'all saw this movie, so I need to set it up a little bit. So I guess the first thing is, did either of you see the movie Tuesday?
No,
Okay. So
unfortunately.
this is a movie starring Julie Louis-Dreyfus. She's a mother who has a teenage daughter who is terminally ill, like pretty close to death's door, and she's not done a good job of handling it and has stepped away from kind of her job to just sort of pawn things off and just sort of hang around in the park and just sort of be away from her feelings for a bit while she ignores her own daughter's mortality. Well, in this world, there's this parrot, this talking parrot that is the sort of manifestation of death itself, who comes and visits you in kind of that moment right before death. And when it comes to visit the teenager, she is able to befriend death and kind of get like a few extra, an extra day to sort of make things right. And the Julie Louis-Dreyfus character realizes that if this is death, then if I were to stop death, then perhaps I could stop this natural thing from happening to my daughter. And so it deals with the real world ramifications of that sort of fantastical look at kind of grief and letting go and how we do all of that. And this is a movie where, all of it is sort of on precarious territory because of the subject matter. But, as this movie reaches its crescendo, the Julie Louis-Dreyfus character has to learn how to let go and has to get to that point where she can realize that, she can't stop death, and we haven't really talked about this a lot on the show. I'm going to get a little personal here. One of the things that I've been dealing with the last 8 months now has been my own cancer diagnosis. I've been dealing with that, and we talk about like, oh, I've lost my beard's coming back in. It's because of chemo. When we talk about some of the times that I've had to, a couple of times where we've had to kind of schedule around things, sometimes it's work trips, which have been great, but sometimes it's just because dealing with being in the hospital. It's not fun. But one of the not fun things about it is dealing with the idea that, my own prognosis is, it is what it is, and I'll take each day of that, as it comes, but also knowing that, there is more of like a look at my own mortality and my own expiration date on top of all of this. And I have to deal with that in the context of how I interact with others, family members, my husband, etc., and kind of thinking about, what does 3 years down the line look like for them? So all of that said, this movie hit me in some incredibly personal spots as I was watching it, because both what the daughter and what the mother and what death as a character, all three of them are going through in this movie, all hit three different angles of this very personal yet universal thing that we all go through and experience, but that I, had a little bit more proximity to this last year. So Tuesday was my biggest tearjerker. It absolutely broke me to watch, and it was a hard watch, but it was also a very good, satisfying one.
Will, I know you mentioned this film, and when I saw it on your list, I'm like, I don't remember that film. But now, as you describe it, I'm remembering it, and I'm wondering if indeed I did see this, or I just watched the trailer, and it's sticking in my head. Now I'm going to have to go find this movie and maybe start it and see, did I really watch this? I don't know. I can't find it on my Letterboxd, but I know that I've missed a few on my Letterboxd. So.
Oh, Jim. Brad's been so good. You've got to step up on the plate.
No. I mean, I miss every once in a while. I just forget to put it in.
But this one also has a remarkably memorable trailer, because the talking bird just kind of comes out of fucking nowhere.
Yeah.
So that may be the case too.
Yeah. I'll check it out, Will. But I understand, and I think we can relate to, not to your personal story, but I think we can relate to certain movies come along that seem to resonate with us personally because of either stuff we've been through, are going through, or expect to go through. I watched a movie recently, very recently, about just getting older. You know what I mean? And
The Substance?
I wish. Give me that shit.
All of a sudden, Jim's replaced by
it's coming up
a
on my list.
24-year-old cub.
It's coming up on my list later, and we'll talk about it. But
cool.
But yeah, I totally understand, Will, that maybe a movie about a talking bird that is death might not have hit you the same way, 4 years ago that it does this year. So totally understand it. You know, our emotions are our own thing, and I think it's wonderful. Yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely. And
yeah,
Will, I know it's hard to talk about mortality and some of these
Yeah.
things, and
Mm.
you know, we love and fucking adore you. And thank you for putting this movie on my radar. I hadn't heard of it. You know, I sounds like I really need to see it. So I'm looking forward to checking this one out for sure.
Just get both. You're going to need both cats for the cry.
One in each hand to wipe up the tears. They're gonna
Yeah.
love it. It's gonna be amazing.
The question is, which two you're going to pick?
Oh, that's
All
right.
right.
Y'all are up to
We have-
3 now?
Four.
Oh, my
Four.
goodness. I lost
Yeah.
count.
Yep. We're the crazy cat guys of Tucson, I guess.
All right, your tearjerker scene, babe.
All right. So I will say there are two moments from the same movie, but they happen one right after the other. So I it's all in the same scene.
Yeah.
So
Counts.
can I mention them both, or do I have to only mention one?
No, it's this is part of the
Yes.
second, knowing what you're going for. The second one hits because the first one hit. So
This is
it's
not
part of
cheating.
the same moment.
Go ahead.
All right. So to be a little vulnerable as well, I lost my mom a long time ago. It's been like 15 years at this point. That doesn't mean it's necessarily less painful, but I mean, it's been a while, and I've done a lot of good work in therapy, getting through a lot of that. But when we saw the movie I'm about to talk about back in November, that movie fucking ripped the Band-Aid off of that wound in like the best way possible, which sounds probably really weird to say, but like it hit for me in a way because I so much appreciate the like mother-son relationship now, years after my mom passed, in a way that I didn't when she was still here, right? And I think that's growth, and that's a good thing. But this movie is The Wild Robot. I feel like I talk about it on every fucking episode of the show, but you know what? I don't fucking care because it's really good.
Yeah.
There's a scene in the movie, and I'm not gonna like go super spoilery, but Lupita Nyong'o plays this robot, and she has to raise a little gosling whose parents died, and she has to get this gosling
Ryan?
ready. What?
Ryan
Ryan
Gosling.
Gosling?
No.
No. Sorry.
So she has to raise this gosling and get it ready to like join the other geese and migrate away from this island. Anyway, in order to do this, she has to give up a lot. She gets battered and bruised, and she loses a leg, and she goes through all these things. And we finally get to the moment where this little gosling that she has raised is now grown up to the degree that he can join the migration. But he like totally does not understand what she has done for him. And he resents her for things, and he's mad at her for things. And so he's like ready to get the fuck out of there. And the leader of the geese, Longneck, is like, look, this migration flight is a flight that Roz has given you. Roz is the robot. And Brightbill, little gosling, is like, oh, yeah, okay, whatever. I get that. Let's go. And he's like, no, you don't fucking get it. Well, he doesn't use the F word. It's a kid's movie. He's like, you don't get it. But like, look at her. Look at all she's been through to get you to this moment. And so Brightbill has this realization of what Roz has really gone through. And so the music starts to swell as my tears are swelling right now talking about it. And Brightbill doesn't really know how to communicate what he's feeling in that moment. And so he just asks her for a boost. And so Roz puts him up on her shoulder and like runs with him to let him like build up enough air under his wings to fly. Mm. And that's a really crazy, powerful moment for me because when my mom was getting sick, a couple years before she passed away, things weren't super bad yet. I offered to stay, and she was like, no, you're not going to stay. I raised you your whole life. I was a single mom, and I gave up everything I did to give you a good life out in the world. Like, fucking go. She literally said, fucking go. And I felt like that was her, and my, like, give me a boost moment. Yep, absolutely. And so, I rewatched that scene like 30 minutes before we went on Showtime, and I was like bawling again. And if I were wearing mascara, it'd be like black rain down my face. And I was really curious, like watching just the scene without the context of the rest of the movie, would it hit me as hard? Would it hit me the same way? And fuck, I think it hit me even harder. I don't know if that's possible, but anyway, I've been talking for like 10 minutes. Really powerful scene, all the fucking tears. I had to drink like a whole bottle of water to replenish the tears that it ripped out of me right before the show. So congratulations to the Wild Robot. You get my award for biggest tearjerker.
And congratulations to Bright Brad for sharing that moment with us. Although if that, gosh, what are we going to be? Jim, are you going to be long? Wait, no, never mind. Never mind.
Long Bill.
Wrong one.
Oh my God. Wow.
That's that. You just ruined the moment. Well,
no.
Or made it better.
We were getting heavy and we needed to get heavy. It was
we
got heavy, but we can also
that
have
was
fun when we're getting heavy.
That was a wonderfully illustrative, perfect storytelling moment in a movie, that was really about motherhood and parenthood and mentorship. That was the whole overarching theme of the movie. And right there, it all came to a pinpoint, and I think the movie nailed it. So great choice.
All right. Awesome. Well, we're moving through the list, and we're transitioning from all the tears to all the like grunts and yells of excitement, because we're moving into the best hell yeah scene. This is a scene from a movie. Again, the movie could be total shit, but this is just a scene that makes you stand up or just sit up really tall in your chair and go, hell yeah. So Jim, what was your best hell yeah moment?
I'm not so sure now that my pick fits the category, but we'll go with it anyway. This scene is like a oh fuck moment, like in the movie, like oh shit, this is happening. Oh my God, this is like an oh my God scene, maybe. Anyway, this is the New Year's Eve show, kind of crescendo scene. I don't think it's quite the last scene, but it's near the end of the film. In The Substance. This is a scene where I forget the actress's name, but anyway, she's transformed herself way beyond beauty and into something truly horrible on display for everybody to see, and things get totally fucking bonkers, both in the movie and for like the audience watching this New Year's Eve show. It's just insane. Like probably the craziest scene in of the year. I wouldn't be surprised if there were people who walked out of the movie during this scene after watching the rest of the film, saying, fuck this, I've seen enough. It's just way too crazy. But I loved it for that. I love that the movie went there with this. I think it added an edge to the film that I really like. So anyway, it's The Substance, the New Year's Eve show scene. Very bloody, very gory. Probably used the most amount of fake blood that I've seen in a scene since, I don't know, the remake of, what was the one we saw at South by Southwest?
Evil Dead.
Evil Dead, yeah. The first remake of Evil Dead that we saw, where it was raining blood.
Literally raining blood.
Yeah.
All right. Will and listeners, let me set this up for you. So I go to this movie with Jim. Again, remember, I didn't know what this movie was going to be.
Of course.
Our friend Kevin went to this movie. Kevin has the strongest stomach of anybody that I know when it comes to movies. When it comes to nothing grosses him out. Here's the scene. Here's what's happening during that scene. Kevin is turned sideways, bent over in his chair, going like he's going to throw up. I am like shielding my eyes, trying to not see this thing. It's so fucking disgusting. And I look over at Jim to see what he's doing, and he's like, he's got a smile on his face. He's
I'm like
dancing in his
I'm
chair.
both disgusted and thrilled at the same time. I don't know how that happens.
There is a popular like meme slash, like animated GIF, all that stuff. From a season of Survivor that gets thrown around from Survivor Gabon, where it's like it's two people are like covering their eyes or covering their mouths because something bad happened, and the third just sort of smiles and grins because of what they're going on. You described exactly that.
Oh, good pick for you, Jim. That was awesome. Very nice.
Thanks.
Will, how about you? What was your best hell yeah scene?
All right, so this one was a little hard for me because I sort of called an audible on this one during the show as I was really thinking about what worked for me. So what got ditched was the Dune 2 sandworm scene. Really good scene. But what I'm really thinking about as just one of the biggest moments that had me at the edge of my seat, excited for movies and what movies do for us, was the final sequence of Challengers. I'm always a big proponent of the idea that the last few moments of a movie makes or breaks how I feel about that film overall. You can have like a great opening sequence, but if you have a weak ending, whatever. Some of my favorite films of all time are ones where like the standout moments are the last 5 or 6 seconds. As we're building up to Challengers, this movie has all been about the push and pull between these two friends, both on and off the tennis court, and this and their love interest slash also tennis challenger, the Zendaya character in this, acting as sort of a catalyst for some of the strengths and weaknesses in their friendship. As this builds up, they start volleying back and forth and 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 more and closer and closer. And the way that this is shot and the way that it's sequenced, and the final sequence has one of the guys jumping up and just spiking that one over. And then they end up like, you think it's going to be like a fist fight, and it turns into this like embrace. And at that moment, Zendaya stands up and just yells, yeah, yeah. Because earlier in the movie, she had talked about how, that was the sign of like true tennis, and that like they've never played true tennis because they've never had that moment before. I felt the same way. That entire sequence, like I was waiting to find out what would happen. And as it hit there, and when Zendaya stood up and just cheered, I cheered too, because it was so fucking cool. It was a great hell yeah moment.
It's a really good hell yeah moment.
I love that moment, Will. And you talk about that like kinetic, like action and editing and like back and forth. Like that's
and you're probably the ball.
Right. And you're the fucking ball. Like it's crazy. Like I cannot wait to see that scene again. But yeah, Will, I almost listed that as a nominee for this one, but didn't quite make it as my choice. But this one was so fucking good.
And I swear, when she stood up and yelled, like for that point, I swear she yelled DP.
Because the director of photography did such a wonderful job at really setting up the shots and the sequence. Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
Totally.
Shocking.
So
awesome.
so much DP goodness in Challengers for sure. Yeah. All right.
Ed, what do you got for your hell yeah scene?
Yeah, so mine are actually 2 hell yeah moments, but they happen right next to each other.
We let it happen
like
one time.
I know, but they're like opposite sides of a coin. Yeah, like you can't have one face of a coin without the other.
Go ahead.
It's actually from Transformers 1, which means this movie made it onto this list in 2 places.
Twice.
My best hell yeah scene from that movie is when D37 or whatever his name is, just finally fucking like loses it. He's so fucking tired of like trying to protect Orion Pax, and he's so fucking over like being enslaved by like these awful fucking people in power that he's like, you know what? Fine, fuck all of you, and he just becomes fucking Megatron. And he's like, I'm fucking done protecting you. I'm done protecting them. That is his descent into evil. And holy shit, it gave me chills. The opposite side of that is in that moment that it happens is because he fucking blew a giant hole in Orion Pax's chest and sends him flying over a cliff down into the bowels of Cybertron dead. Except Orion Pax is not dead because Alpha Trion, the spirit of everything that is good about the Transformers, he chooses Optimus or Orion Pax to become the new Prime. He becomes Optimus Prime by putting the Matrix of Leadership in his chest.
Nice.
You got the touch. Well, no, they don't use that song in this movie. Well, there's a joke about it. But anyway, Orion Pax becomes Optimus and flies back up, and he and Megatron have their first incredible fucking battle. And that whole sequence, I timed it, by the way, it's 8 minutes and 36 seconds, just in case you're curious. The battle that ensues after the fall of Megatron and the rise of Optimus Prime in that battle is amazing. Like, even the choreography in that battle sequence is fantastic. And when Chris Hemsworth as Optimus Prime, what the fuck, is just like, Megatron, you betrayed, your people, you betrayed me. Now get the fuck out of here forever. He didn't say fuck, but he should have. Chills, just absolute chills. So I'm pretty sure I did audibly say hell yeah during that battle. Jim, maybe you can attest.
Sure
I don't know.
I'm sure you did. Yeah,
it was really good.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's a good line to roll out there.
Indeed.
We had a comment. Did you want to?
I did. Yeah.
It was a category ago, though.
Yeah, it came in as we were switching categories, so I figured we'd wrap this one up because actually, biggest tearjerker and best hell yeah moment. Speaking of both sides of a coin, I think this comment kind of applies to both. Even James, you can let us know if you disagree. But James said, "Art imitating life in these nominations. It's why we watch movies. They just take us away and make us feel." Yes. So whether movies give you tears or hard-ons for action or whatever they give you, if they're making you feel something, they're doing their
gross,
job.
soaked in blood, gross. Yeah. No, seriously. Like, I've always said this, like, give me a movie that makes me feel. It doesn't have to be like a super sad emotional moment. That's not what I necessarily mean. Make me feel something, right? It tells me that you're doing your job. You're in my emotions. You're in my head. Not just laying there like nothing, right? I want this art, this art that we love called film, to make me feel something. So James hit it right on the head there.
Yeah, we find truth in our own lives in movies in a lot of different ways, whether it be something that's incredibly grounded or whether it be something fantastical that lets us realize some of the stuff that we're escaping from when we use like escapist media. All of this is a very valid way to feel something. Yeah, I agree, James. It's why we watch movies.
For sure. Love that call out, James. Thanks for sharing that with us. All right, we are 1 hour, 3 minutes, and 22 seconds into the show, and we're only halfway through our awards categories. So, well, a little more maybe, but I think we have 11 awards, and we have 5 left to give out.
No, 10. Yeah.
Is it 10? Is it 10?
So we are 5. We are halfway.
Yep. Yeah. Okay,
the halfway
gotcha.
point.
Okay, so we're at the halfway point. Maybe we speed it up a little. We'll see how things go. But our next category is the most underrated movie. It's a movie that you're like, why aren't more people talking about this movie? Jim, what is your most underrated film of 2024?
The most underrated film for me this year is a film like I mentioned a little bit ago. I don't think I mentioned the name, but it's a movie that didn't get to see before I made my list, called Thelma. This is a movie starring June Squibb, who I love. She was in a movie called, I think it was Nebraska, a while back.
Yes. I see the hat in your background.
That's
from
right.
Nebraska.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yep. Love June Squibb. She's great in this. The kid from the first season of White Lotus is in this. I love the film because it's about, it has some things to say about aging, about our older family members or citizens and how we treat them. And also some, agency that these people still have. But one thing I like the most about it is its empathy and like just its humanity. The relationship that Thelma has with her grandson is one of the best I've seen on screen ever. If you watch it, the grandson is, he has a moment where he breaks down and he has his own self doubts, and she's supporting him while he's supporting, he's emotionally supporting her. It's wonderful, wonderful character work. Just a big surprise. I think it's very underrated. Nobody really was talking about it much. But Thelma, I think, is actually one of the better films of the year. So
Yeah, Jim, I had never heard of this movie, and you were like, "Hey, babe, you remember that movie you saw with June Squibb with the hat in the movie?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about." Uh, I'm so glad I got a chance to see this with you, and thank you for rewatching it because it was really, really good, and also best use of a scooter in any movie I've ever seen. So,
yeah.
really, really good. And Bradley in the chat says he got to see Nebraska in Nebraska. So
Ooh.
that's awesome.
There's your hat trick.
Look at that.
That was a really great movie that year. I don't remember exactly which year it was, but
Yeah,
so good, so good.
really
Surprise
awesome.
performance by Will. What's his last name?
Arnett?
Forte.
No,
Will
Forte.
Forte.
Right. Yes.
Forte.
Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
great stuff.
And what is it? Bruce?
Was
Oh, is that Bruce Stern?
Bruce Stern? Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. All right. Well, I'm darn curious, Will, to hear what your most underrated movie of 2024 was. What do you got?
Mine's a movie called Ghostlight. This movie came out of South by Southwest and did a small theatrical and then straight to kind of VOD afterwards here. This is a movie about there's this father, he's a construction worker, and he finds himself just sort of dealing with some stuff, and we don't kind of at first understand what that is. And he finds himself coming across this local theater that is doing a production of Romeo and Juliet that his estranged daughter is also cast in. And he, on a whim, auditions and becomes a part of that cast. And the main thrust of this becomes sort of a spot for him to process some of the things that he's been dealing with and to heal from some of the trauma that he's experienced. And I won't talk about what that is here. I'll keep that a secret for anyone that's wanting to watch it. But this is just an incredibly well-paced, well-created, well-performed movie. It's very emotionally grounded. In something that, again, we all kind of have to deal with at some point or another in some way, shape, or form. But aside from all of that, I also like that this is a movie about that celebrates amateur theater. Like, these are not people like in this local theater group. These are not people that are going to go on and like win Tonys or because of their work. They're going to be playing for an audience of a handful of people, and they're going to be happy with that. And that's still incredibly valid art and exciting art. I love this movie. It's Ghostlight, and if you haven't seen this movie, go see it. And if you're not talking about it, why the fuck not?
Yeah, it's one I got to see. Will, I don't know if we saw it together, babe. I don't think you got to see this one.
No, I haven't.
Us.
Yeah.
But it really piqued my interest about this, middle-aged guy, dad, who all of a sudden ends up in a Shakespearean troupe of local actors, and he's rediscovering himself, and it's pretty awesome.
There is a Letterboxd review for this one that is, usually I try not to like read other people's things about these, but it is just one of the best things I've ever read. Someone just wrote Lady Bird for Sopranos dads, and that is a perfect way of describing this movie.
That's awesome. I love it. Well, thank you, Will, for sharing your award with us. My most underrated movie, listen, it was nominated for an Oscar. but it still counts, and here's why. Even though this movie was nominated for Best Animated Feature of 2024, nobody outside like my little circle of people that I've seen on social media, at least, has been talking about this film. In fact, when I tell people, and I was just talking to someone about this film on Discord, I remembered to mute myself so you wouldn't hear the clickety clack 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 on air. But I just was talking to a friend of mine about this movie because I've known her for a long time. She has young kids, and she's like, yeah, I'm really looking for a really great movie about like a cat. Do you have any movies you'd recommend?
Oh my God.
And I was like, oh my God, yes, one of the best animated movies of 2024 is called Flow, which is my choice. And she's like, what the hell is that? That sounds like, do you need like a maxi pad for that? Like, what is that? And I'm like, oh my God. Anyway, so I was telling her about this movie and she'd never heard of it. And in any event, I wish more people would see this movie. I hope the fact that it's nominated for an Oscar gets some people to see it. I don't know if it will. Jim, this movie came up earlier in one of the other award categories. But by and large, this is one of the best films of 2024. It made it onto my top 10 list. And so I say it's underrated because not enough people fucking know about it. We had to see it in our indie theater here in Tucson because it wasn't playing in any of the like big, theater chains, which is a real disservice because I think a lot of people missed out on it.
Yeah. It had quite a long run here at the Loft as well. I think it was still playing as of last week.
Yeah.
But I don't want to get into the reasons why people, it's not really catching on, but there are some things about it that I think might shy some away. I've seen some comments on Facebook from friends about like, oh, no dialogue. Like, why am I watching a movie? You know what I mean? Like, I've seen that. Like, I can't get into it. And look, I understand that if that's your thing. But I hope that there are enough people out there that will give the movie a chance. I think it's a gem, really.
Yeah, until everyone's seen it, not enough people have seen it. So
that's right.
Yes, exactly. Right. Exactly. All right. Cool. Well, let's move on to our next category. We're not super negative on the show, or at least we try not to be. So don't feel like you have to dunk on your choices extensively. This can be brief. Mine will be. But this is the award for the worst movie of 2024. This is the movie that we maybe rated the very least on Letterboxd, or we saw and we were just like, oh my fucking God, that movie was the worst thing I've seen in forever. Jim, what was your worst movie pick?
There were a few clunkers this year. Maybe we'll bank some time here. I'm not going to dunk too badly on this one, but it was really the worst of the bunch. It was called Borderlands. It was this like post-apocalyptic, people have to go team up and find this missing girl. Cate Blanchett, believe it or not, is in this with Kevin Hart, which is like the weirdest. I think that's like the weirdest combination of actors maybe so far this year. But Borderlands, it didn't work at all for me. It was kind of loud, obnoxious, and just looked didn't look good and didn't play good. So Borderlands is my worst film of the year.
I'll say this. It's my second worst film of the year, Jim. Didn't quite make the number one, but I solidly stand behind your pick.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not good. Neither is my pick, Madam Web. Look, so Madam Web is one of those ones where I think that it sort of got meme bashed a little bit this year. And so I was hesitant to put this one on there just because I think a lot of people called this the worst movie they saw of the year before they even saw it, which is probably unfair. I did see it, and after much thinking and debate, it still landed in that spot for me. Mainly because it's disappointing because there are some fun ideas in here. This movie if it leaned into like the Final Destination kind of precognitive, like shit going bad, and then she sees stuff and then like changes at the last minute and just really made it bonkers, this could have been a lot of fun. But every time this movie makes a fun choice, it counters it by like a boring reaction to that fun choice. And so it is like, it's not just like Dead on Arrival. It's more like the most frustrating edging session ever with this film. So Madam Web was my least favorite film of the year. There are fun moments, but just overall was not for me.
Yeah, well, I didn't see it, just full disclosure, but it just seemed like another one of these films that are all about the people in Spider-Man's like web of connected people when there's no fucking Spider-Man to connect them all. Craven, Morbius, Madam Web, Venom, like they're all not great. And so I skipped this one because it looked like, 50 Shades of Marvel, and I'm glad I didn't see it based on what you're saying here, because doesn't sound too good.
Yeah, and it's not fun to bash it because again, there are moments in this that are so close to being fun, but for me, it's really just again, it's the fall off. I do see a comment here.
Yeah, we got some trouble brewing here because
Trouble brewing.
Mick, we fucking
Mick, our
love Mick.
dear friend Mick.
Yeah.
And his wonderful, delightful other half, Akbar. Mick says Akbar loves Madam Web. In fact, he makes Mick watch it all the time. So, Akbar, I'm kind of ready for this rumble to happen. Just say when and where.
No rumble.
No.
My thought is, go ahead.
Here's what I'm saying. Like, Mick, if we were visiting you and Will came with us, and Akbar made us all watch Madam Web together, I bet we'd all like the movie a little bit more.
I think that's probably a very true statement. And it's one of those things where like, I would rather someone love a movie than hate it, right? Although, Mick, I will say it is very telling that instead of saying you love watching it with Akbar, that he makes you watch it all the time.
I'm pretty sure if like the five of us were watching this movie on a couch, we'd get distracted by all the cuddles that spontaneously.
We'd have a blast. I know it. I know for sure.
It would be a lot of fun.
There you go. Yeah.
I'd be super into it. A blast. Absolutely, Jim. All right.
What's yours, babe?
Well, I hate to name mine because I know you really loved this movie.
Oh, no, I didn't. No, I didn't.
You didn't? I thought you
might
did.
Be mixing this up with another movie.
No.
Maybe I am. Okay, good. Then I'm really excited.
Not Love Lies Bleeding. How about that?
Okay, then I'm really excited to say that it's fucking Drive Away Dolls. This movie was terrible for me anyway. It's about these two women who go on this like cross-country road trip and get wrapped up in a criminal scheme, and they're quirky and quippy and fucking annoying on every fucking level fucking possible. 3 fucks. There you go. Those are the 3 fucks I gave about this movie. Not for me. I know a lot of people really liked it. I love that for them. Bless their hearts. Not for me. Never again. Never. It's the only movie I've ever rated half a star on Letterboxd.
Oof.
So there's your fucking award, Drive Away Dolls.
There you go. Yeah, this one this one actually has a written review up on our site, and I gave this one sort of a middling review. Not nearly as down on it as you were, but not a film that I would at all go to bat for. I think the most telling line is where I say, "So grab some popcorn and lower your expectations a notch." And that's the kind of the setup I give to sort of like okay, you have to lower your expectations to even get with this film.
You just sparked it for me. I know why I thought you loved this movie. You just said the word lower, which took me to bottom, which connected to bottoms. I think I conflated the titles.
Yes, bottoms.
I know. Yeah,
bottoms
is great. Yeah, bottoms is really good. Yeah, but I think in my brain, Anyway, yeah, there you go. Drive Away Dolls. Drive Away. Bye-bye. All right.
Bye.
We ready for our next category?
Yes.
So.
All right. This is Best Soundtrack / Score, which is an award that goes to movies with the best soundtrack / score. Just in
Yeah.
case you couldn't suss that out. Jim, what's your pick for this category?
For me, it's all about the score this year, and it came down to two. I saw that somebody else picked my other one, so I picked this one. Um, this one is, we mentioned it before, not too long ago. This one is the soundtrack for the movie Flow, composed by, or at least partially composed by the director of the film and editor of the film, Gint Zilbalotis. And just an amazing soundtrack. Now, you remember, now you're talking about a movie that has zero dialogue, right? It does have sounds, like natural sounds and sounds that animals make naturally. The animals are not talking to each other. So the score, in my mind, has to drive what's going on the screen and has to complement it or drive it in some way. And I think the soundtrack for Flow does that beautifully. It's not necessarily, I mean, it's a soundtrack that I've listened to several times, and it's very soothing, kind of atmospheric in a way, but it's just lush and gorgeous, and it does support um, all the beats of the film. But yeah, the soundtrack for Flow, I think is wonderful. Did not get nominated this year for in the soundtrack category, which is fine. But I just think, when you take it all as a piece, I think I think the soundtrack is really wonderful.
Yeah, it's an absolute banger of a score. I actually have picked a few tracks from that score out to use in some like meditative therapy stuff that I do, and it's perfect for that. Especially, there's a track called "Flow Away," which
Yeah.
Jim, that's actually the track from the moment you mentioned earlier with the ascension of the secretary bird. I listen to that quite often. It's so good.
Okay, so yeah, cool. And everybody listening to this, please go back and replace everything I said about soundtrack and put score in there, because that's what I really meant. I meant the score.
We
not
knew
the
that.
Yeah,
Listen,
fits.
we're not a fucking art house indie podcast
Look,
that's like,
I know the
you
difference.
used the wrong word.
I know the
like,
difference. And
you know.
Hey, Jim, ultimately, and I'm not saying to do this, I'm just saying that you are the one who does the editing of the show post.
I'll put it
in theory,
But
this
make it
part
obvious.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Just go like, and my favorite score is
if you don't do it, we're going to be at least once. You got to
Yeah.
put it in there somewhere.
do it.
Oh my
do
god.
it, Jim.
Oh my god. Oh, okay. Maybe I'll use your score right there, Will, and put it in my.
Oh, I'd love that. I would love that.
Perfect. All right. Well,
You took the words right out of my mouth.
Literally. Will, what was your best soundtrack or score?
So this is always the one category, and I do this every year, where I put two in there, and that's just because I personally struggle a little bit between, like, once I have my favorite soundtrack and score, it's like, well, how do I pit those two things against each other? Because they're two very different things to me. So my favorite soundtrack is I Saw the TV Glow, when director Jane Schoenbrunn was working with A24 on this. She really wanted to make it like an actual like mixtape type vibe, which sort of fits with kind of the age, the teenagers in the 90s that kind of make the protagonist here. There's some just absolutely killer songs on here. We see a few things by King Woman. My favorite song on there is Claw Machine by Phoebe Bridgers and Sloppy Jane. There is a cover of Anthems for Teenage Girl by Yule. It is just a great listen. Very mellow, very chill, very lo-fi, but like super good. In terms of score, I can't get much better for me than the Challenger score by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. And it's a little bit of a cheat because they are the cheat code for making a at least top 3 or 4 scores list for me. Right now, there are very few people who are as consistently good at scoring films as Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. very disappointed that I didn't get in on those 30 seconds when the Nine Inch Nails US tour tickets went on sale a week ago. Sold out too quick for me. But this is such a crunchy and frenetic and energetic score that really matches just how pulsing and throbbing and sexual and tense and about to erupt these relationships are in this film, and the score matches that so well. So those are my soundtrack and score, and I can't choose between them, so in this case I have two darlings.
It's a shame that that was my second pick too, Will, and it's a shame that the Challenger score didn't get a nomination. As a matter of fact, Challengers got totally snubbed. For Oscars, nothing, zilch, which is just fucking unconscionable, if you ask me.
This would have been, I think there's a few categories that you could have slam dunked it, and I think if any, I love the movie across the board, and I think there's several places I could have nominated it. This is the one that I think was most surprising to me, because I thought this was the one that was the shoe-in nomination.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But we're not an Oscars show, so...
And that's
What's
why
your
I would
pick, babe?
I would argue that we're better than the Oscars, at least for us, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Best score in this case, and best soundtrack in this case, because the music from this film was a mixture of an original score as well as some original songs that were written and recorded for the film. I'm sorry, The Wild Robot is on my list again. But the score by Chris Bowers is fantastic. I mentioned the I could use a boost moment. There's also another moment in the film after Bright Bill takes off and leaves, where a track called Task Complete plays. Those are my two favorite tracks from the score. They're so emotional. They hit all the beats for me. So good. And then Maren Morris, who I'd never heard of before I saw this movie, recorded two songs, Kiss the Sky and Even When I'm Not. And I was actually looking in my Apple Music app earlier. It generates a playlist of like your top 25 played songs. And those two songs were like in the middle of that list, as were the two tracks from the score. So 4 of my top 25 of last year are from The Wild Robot. So yeah, really, really good stuff.
And this one is nominated for an Oscar. So
yes,
we at least sort of, we butted up against the awards at least
I think
a little
it's a
bit here.
Strong favorite maybe to win as well.
I think of what's
possibly
left in the field. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
You said depending on the interest of it all, which I still don't understand.
Does that song go "Excuse Me While I Kiss the Sky"?
No, that's a different song.
While I kiss the sky.
No, you're thinking of "Excuse Me While I Kiss This Guy"
from Challengers.
Yeah.
That was Jimi Hendrix, right?
Yes. Hens are related to geese, aren't they?
Hen, a hen named Jimmy. It'd be great.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. Next category. We got just 2 left. We're getting down to it. This is our favorite documentary. Y'all, documentaries do not get enough love in general. They're an incredible filmmaking genre. It just doesn't get enough eyeballs, enough earballs. Whatever. But we're gonna put some balls on documentaries right now. We're gonna hang some balls by talking about our favorite documentaries from 2024. Jim, what was yours?
This is a tough category. My favorite documentary was actually one that we saw at South by Southwest, but I don't think it's actually gotten a release yet. So I'll mention it, but I'm not going to use it as I'm going to keep this one in the chamber. Secret Mall Apartment was my favorite documentary from last year. I'm hoping it gets a bigger release. I hope people get to see that film. I loved it. Anyway, the one that I want to talk about as my favorite documentary of the year got a lot more visibility because I think it's on Netflix, actually, called Will and Harper. This is the one where Will Ferrell and Harper Steele, Will's longtime friend and writing guru, Harper Steele, like go on this road trip, and it's really about Harper's story coming out as trans, and in the entertainment business, which is hard enough, as well as being kind of middle aged and of a generation where coming out in that way was also hard, and it's also about how Will Ferrell shows so much empathy and understanding, and like we all should, for people struggling with these issues, especially today. It's this movie should have a re-release, if you ask me, um, uh, because of what's going on now. But
Fuck yeah.
I loved Will and Harper. I think if you haven't seen it, please see it. Um, Let everybody know you've seen it, and hope you like it. And if you do, say it, like that we need this kind of representation, not just representation of trans people, which is important, but representation of trying to understand at least people that are close to us, and that really aren't different than us, although sometimes they get treated that way. So anyway, that's my little soapbox on Will and Harper. I think it's a wonderful movie. It should be seen.
Hell of a good pick. Hell of a good pick. For me, it's interesting you picked a South by Southwest film, mainly because I'm looking at our list here, and I think we all, not to jump too far ahead for add to yours, but all three of us picked films that played at South by Southwest, which is great. It's a great, and then Will and Harper played at Fantastic Fest here in Austin. So there's something about the power of being able to go to these festivals and seeing documentaries, and that you may not normally have exposure to. For me, my favorite documentary of the year is a movie called Omar and Cedric, If This Ever Gets Weird. So there is a band that is, or I guess a couple of bands that are really, really, really influential, especially over the past several decades. And that's At the Drive-In and the Mars Volta. And they are bands that are comprised of the same two core members, which is Omar Rodriguez Lopez and Cedric Bixler Zavala. And what this film does is it sort of charts them as a band, and as they form kind of spin-offs to their band, as they came to notoriety and all of that. The magic of this comes from the fact that Omar, since he was young, since they were like, junior high age, I believe, films everything. He's just one of those guys who just films everything, with their life, when they're going on later on, when they form the band, when they're going on tour. So this documentary is made almost exclusively of just the footage that Omar had. This isn't one of those like behind the music style documentaries where it cuts over to them going, yeah, and then, with the, with the plant behind them or whatever. This is all just live footage of this band from the 40 years of their friendship. And that's what this is. This is a film about friendship. The music is important. The highs and lows are important, but the friendship between these two people as they go through this together is the most important. It's one of the best edited documentaries I've seen. It's just so damn good. It helps that the music slaps all the way through. They're great bands, and so the music is so good. But no, this is a rare treat of a music doc. Omar and Cedric, If This Ever Gets Weird. If you are a fan of At the Drive-In or the Mars Volta, there's no excuse to not watch this documentary. And even if you're not, if you're just interested in how music shapes friendships, I think this is a good documentary you should check out.
Sounds like a good one, Will. I did not see this one. Was this at South by, did you say?
It was, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't get to see this one. And I don't know much about the band, so maybe it's a good thing for me to check it out. Maybe it'll get me, hooked into the music a little.
Hell yeah.
There you go. All right. Awesome. Okay. Favorite documentary for me. It was going to be Will and Harper. I was like, oh my God, I know immediately it's Will and Harper. but I went back to my
Oh.
Letterboxd and I discovered, I'm not looking at the camera because I know what you're doing, Will, and I'm about to do the same thing. But I went to Letterboxd and I was like, oh my God, can Letterboxd tell me just the documentaries I saw in 2024? And it can. And oh my God, that's amazing. And I did that. And there was one documentary that, yes, we saw at South by Southwest. It is now on Disney Plus. That did beat Will and Harper out by half a star. And I feel like I have to honor that rating because technically it was my favorite documentary of 2025. Now Jim's doing it. I'm going to do it too. Billy and Molly, an otter love story. I'm going to put Molly, stuffed little otter. We all got one when we saw the movie at South by. If you're watching the video right now, we're
Molly's
all
a sweetheart.
cuddling and kissing our little stuffed otters that we got. Y'all, I going in, I was like, oh, it's a cutesy documentary about a guy and an otter that he takes care of. I didn't expect to like it much, but oh my God. I think about was it My Octopus Teacher from a few years ago?
Yes.
Yeah.
Unexpected Friendship with Aquatic Life. That was another one that I was like, oh my God, that's not going to be good. And then an octopus made me cry. Same thing here with Molly and her story and the relationship between her and Billy. It's called an otter love story. Just to put this out there, Billy and Molly are not like in romantic love with each other. It's not that kind of story. It's like familial bond, like a boy and his dog, except it's an older gentleman and an otter. And her friends and family. And anyway, it really reaches in and just grabs your heartstrings and tugs at them, not in a super manipulative way, I think, just in a very just sweet, beautiful way. And I'll tell you what, we are fucking, I don't know, 33 days, 34 days into the year at this point. And I feel like we all need a little kindness and love right now. So check it out. Billy and Molly, an otter love story. It's on Disney Plus right now. It's a Nat Geo doc. So good.
Great one. I was hoping this one would be on your list, babe. I know how much you loved it when we saw it. And it was surprising, right? I mean, I love documentaries. I love nature documentaries. I didn't expect you to fall in love with this one so much, but you did. And I think that's sweet.
So I'm going to tell a little story. My Molly, my little otter, sits on a cat tree. We had these things made when our cats, Nerisse and Merlin, passed away. They're little sleepy cat statues with bits of their ashes in them. Anyway, Molly guards them. That's her job on my desk. And she's an amazing guardian. Yeah, she keeps them company. They have all kinds of adventures. It's wonderful.
Mine is both it and the knife from We Can Be Heroes.
Another great documentary, by the way.
Yep, they sit
Got
like
mine.
within arm's reach. I didn't prep this for the episode. Just as you're getting ready to do Molly, I'm like, oh, she's right here. Let me grab her.
She's not like sitting on the knife. Like she's not going to get cut by the LARPing dagger, is she?
No. The LARPing dagger hangs out next to my laptop. Guarding that little section leading to the laptop is where Molly sits.
There we go. Yeah, she's a good guardian for sure. And hi, Cora. Tails on the screen, honey. Hello.
Okay.
She teleported, Jim, from
it's like
your
she was just sleeping in here a minute ago. Okay.
All right, y'all. We have one category left.
Category.
And I might say, for me, I'm a little biased, but this is my favorite category out of all of them, next to biggest tearjerker. This is the one I think we have the most fun with sometimes. This is hottest screen moment. Which actor caught our eye? Which scene turned up the motherfucking heat and was the hottest screen moment of the year? Jim, fan those flames, baby. What was yours?
I struggled a little bit with this category. You guys had grabbed a couple of the maybe the more obvious, like,
here we go,
man sexual stuff that was out this year, and there really wasn't a ton to pick from, or it's hard for me to remember it. But one scene from Challengers came to mind, and it wasn't super sexy in an overtly sexy way, but it was kind of in a cutesy sexual innuendo way. Was basically men eating churros in a cafeteria while they're talking to each other.
Yes.
I thought that
Yes.
was a wonderful scene. That was kind of sneakily sexually suggestive without being like too wink at the audience. Just a joy to watch. And it looked like it was probably fun to film. I would have liked to have been there on set when they were doing that because I bet it was a lot of fun. But yes, Challengers, men eating churros.
Wait a fucking second. Jim, are you telling me Mr. Anti-Cinnamon would be on set for the churros scene? Really?
I pretended they were something else, but yeah.
Oh, fair. Jim,
Okay.
Wait. Jim, you don't
Anything
like
but
cinnamon?
Huh?
You don't like cinnamon?
I'm not
it's
a
a
big
whole
fan.
thing.
of
I
cinnamon.
have to say, honestly, legit, the most surprise, the biggest shocker of this episode is that reveal just now.
I mean, I'm not repulsed by it. I just will not. I'm not attracted to cinnamon like a lot of people are.
So cinnamon toast crunch, you're like toast, sure,
Nah.
crunch, absolutely.
Toast,
Cinnamon, fuck
yeah.
that.
Peanut butter toast crunch, I'm all in. Cinnamon toast crunch, no.
There's a box of Cinnamon Toast Crunch in our pantry right now, and if I even just like pick it up and like bring it near, it's like kryptonite to Superman. He like gets all weak-kneed and falls.
I
to
just
the
look
floor
away.
and-
She's like,
Don't tell me what you're doing.
no!
He's like, don't. He's like, don't make out with me for a few hours after you have your Cinnamon Toast
Oh my
Crunch.
god. It's not that bad.
Oh goodness! Really hot scene though, Jim. And yes, imagining there are
hot,
other things
maybe,
that aren't
yeah.
churros, for sure. Completely get that. Good choice. All right, Will. How about for you? What's your hottest screen moment?
This is a hard one because because it is. No, this is a hard one because I really had to ask myself what I was looking for in a hottest screen moment, right? Because if I were to just say what is the like horniest movie of the year, I think I would pick Challengers or Love Lies Bleeding. I think those are two incredibly like dripping in sex movies, and I love them both. They're great. But just in terms of like a hot on-screen moment, there are a lot of scenes in Gladiator 2 that are just burly, usually hairy, but not necessarily, but like usually bigger, but you know, like buff, but not necessarily, oiled up, in what we would consider to be hypermasculine kind of scenarios, men. Gladiator 2 is like it is like the movie equivalent of one of those like sexy fireman calendars. In that, you know, when I think about the movie, I don't remember a whole lot of it, but I remember liking what I saw. So there's that. Yeah, Gladiator 2 just had a lot of good scenes. So I will consider that my hottest on-screen moment, which was anytime they were just in like, you know, somewhat revealing Roman clothes.
Ridley Scott has made 2 movies with hot Roman men in it. Hot, sweaty Roman men in it.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't he have found in his fucking almost 6 hours of film in those 2 movies, found 3 minutes of them walking around in one of the famous public baths that they used to have in like Rome and stuff? Like, couldn't that have been at least one scene? Because that would have easily made it on my list for that.
Oh, that would have been a slam dunk, right? You know, if they're just like, you know, Maximus, perhaps you would like to soothe your muscles and recover your wounds while hanging dong around all these sexy dudes.
even if there's women like rubbing him down to keep the straights from, you know, like stampeding out of the theaters. You know, I think that would have been cool to see. Like,
Maximus, would you
dudes.
not feel more comfortable were you to release your claymore from its scabbard?
Exactly. Where was
Maximus,
that
you
shit?
must let me wash the pillar as well as the stones with my
Ridley
tongue.
Scott has let us all down. I'm just saying.
Well, while yes, I would like to see that. I will say what Ridley Scott gave us, still delivered.
It did.
In the
It
first
did.
movie.
Well, I mean, in the second
And then he
movie.
delivered it again in the second movie.
Yeah.
Same exact thing.
Well, this was almost my choice, so I'm really glad that it ended up on your list. I really did not like Gladiator 2
No.
much at all, but all the man cake, was that the term you used earlier, Jim?
Man cake.
All of the man cake on display was amazing. There's one gladiator in particular. He only had like 2 lines, unfortunately, but he was like the muscliest and the hairiest gladiator of them all, and he was constantly walking around in the background. And I'm almost tempted to buy the movie just so I can take screenshots, because he's like not listed. I can't find him in the cast. He's one of the gladiators. Like there's like 30 people who don't even have pictures on their IMDb, and some of them are uncredited, and I don't know who he is. But I need to see as much of that man as possible.
Brad, you just want to find out more about the actor whose fantasies will soon involve, crushing your head between his thighs like a watermelon.
Indeed. All right. I guess it's up to me to close this puppy out and give out the final award of our 2025 MBP Awards season. My award for the hottest screen moment goes to Deadpool and Wolverine for the scene towards the end of the movie where Deadpool is trying to stop the MacGuffin by like holding on to it, and electricity's coursing through him, and he has to reach out and touch another MacGuffin, but he doesn't have the wingspan to reach, and all of a sudden Wolverine shows up. There's Hugh Jackman. He grabs Deadpool's hand and then grabs the other machine with his claws. The lightning courses through them, and for some reason the lightning doesn't mess with Deadpool's costume. His costume's fine. Wolverine's shirt, though, just burns right off. And you see his big fucking muscly chest, his big
CGI
fucking muscly
chest.
biceps. They're not CGI. If you ruin this for me, I'll ruin you. And it's interesting. So the camera goes to Hugh Jackman's abs, which are covered in literally like an inch of fur sticking out from them. It's a side profile shot. It lingers. And Deadpool looks down and up and down and up at that inch of hairy treasure trail. And then the camera pans like up Hugh Jackman's sweaty, hairy chest, and then his hairy, sweaty armpit, and then down his arm. And I watched it right before the show, and I had boners happened both times.
Almost as if you directed the scene. I mean,
almost.
Almost
I
as
think
if you were the DP on that scene.
I think I would have had his pants fry off as well. I don't.
Oh, that'd
know
be
why,
shocking.
I know. I don't know why the pants were impervious to electricity, but the shirt was not. But you know what? I'm okay with it. Really, really fucking hot. Hugh Jackman, in case you're secretly into chubby dudes, reach out. Now you know that you're on my radar.
You would like for him to be
always
huge
an opportunity.
Well, maybe I'll find him on Sniffies at some point. We'll see.
Quick, everyone, Urban Dictionary it.
Oh my God, fun story.
Oh yes, go ahead, tell it.
We were on the phone with technical support the other day. I won't name what kind of technical support, what company, but the representative from that company is having Jim screen share with his mobile device, showing him the list of applications installed on said mobile device. And Jim, what happened?
Yeah, so we're going through. I'm scrolling through the list of apps because the guy was looking for something that would have screwed up a VPN or an internet connection or whatnot. He's going through every single app.
We're screen sharing. He can see.
He can see the apps, not photos, but just the apps. And he's
the
like,
list.
"What's this one?" And I have to explain. "What's this one?" Oh, I explain. And then he gets to this one. He's like, "What's sniffies?" And I'm like, I should have just been totally blatantly frank with him, but I said, "Oh, it's a social networking app." That's what I said.
I mean, you're not lying, but you're not telling the truth.
I should have just said it's an app where gay dudes go to get dick.
Well,
I should have
bi
just said
dudes too, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know,
or claws or
straight
straight
dudes,
dudes.
you know? Yeah. Yeah.
I bet you if you opened up Sniffies right outside the RNC, it just would light up like a fucking Christmas tree.
Yeah. If I had said,
with faceless profiles all around you.
Yeah.
if I had said, "Oh, it's an app where dudes go to find other dudes to suck dick," do you have an account? Don't you have an account?
Could you screen share that with me? It might be interfering with this.
It was
thing
just
we're
weird.
trying to accomplish.
It felt like a weird invasion of privacy, to be honest. But anyway,
Yeah,
it was funny. It was funny.
yeah.
Fair.
It was very comical. Bum ba da da. All the awards have been given out. Funny stories have been told. Jim, Will, congratulations on another year of MBP Awards. This is like my second favorite show, like of the movie season, right? So much fun. Will, again, your analogy about this being like the fun, sexy, cool, low vibe, like after party kind of thing after our top 10 show. Super, super apt. This was 2 hours long. When we said we were going to try and keep it to like an hour and 10 minutes.
I told you.
That never happens, and that's okay. That's okay. All right. So real quick, we will have some updates for you on our schedule coming for you soon. But we gotta nail some things down with some of our scheduling and stuff. But we'll put this on your radar. South by Southwest 2025 is coming up in the beginning and mid part of March. You can expect a lot of coverage from us from that film festival. So that's coming up. We may also be getting me drunk and reviewing The Princess Bride because I watch The Princess Bride around my birthday every year. That's a thing we may do soon. Captain America and Paddington 12 or whatever we're up to now are coming out soon. So we got a lot of fun stuff coming your way. Keep tuning in over the next few weeks. We can't wait to spend more time with y'all. But if you want to chat between now and those other recordings, let's let folks know how they can do that. Jim, where can people connect with you that's not Sniffies?
Yeah, you can find me on Letterboxd. All my reviews and movie ratings are there. My lists of the top movies of 2024, as well as my list that started for 2025 now. So find me there under my username at JJPOutWest, or you can go over to Facebook for now and find me under my name, Jim Pugliafico.
All right. Thank you, babe. Will, where can people find and connect with you, Mr. Sexy Pants?
All right. No, Mr. Sorry, you can call me Will. Mr. Sexy Pants is my father's name. No. So yeah, you can find me on Facebook right now. William Lindis. You can also find me on Blue Sky, the Movie Bear, and you can find me on Letterboxd, where honestly, I don't think we could have done this episode without some of our Letterboxd entries this year. So find me on there, also at the Movie Bear.
All right. Thank you, Will. And yeah, Letterboxd coming in clutch. Will, I'm so glad a couple years ago you encouraged me to like just develop a habit, and it's made life so much easier.
What can I say? I'm an encourager.
All right. Well, glad that you are in this case. In any event, you can find me, folks, on Facebook also. For now, I'm posting there less and less. But just look for Brad Harris. I'm the one with Chub Chaser, Bear, Otter, Wolf, whatever friends in common with you. You can also newly find me on Blue Sky at ibradpro.tv. bsky.social. Whatever the fuck their addresses are. Just look for iBrad Pro. You'll find me. And you can find me under the same name on Letterboxd as well. I actually had a couple people during the show follow me. Spoiler alert, I followed you back in real time. Can't wait to engage with both of you. I think Jim and I are probably going to grab some Burger King after this, but then I'll look at your profiles and see what you've been watching. Yeah, feel free to find me there. And I think that's it. Are we done, fellas? Is this the end?
Listen, the Academy is playing us off. All the statues have been given. I think let's go to the after party. That'll be off air, but let's pop some champagne and celebrate another year. Well done.
You were talking about all that like edging that was I think we've got some quirks that need to get popped, Will, in this after party. So there we go. Maybe if we see you in a few weeks or South by, we'll have to get the champagne flowing.
Badum tish.
All right, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you all next time. Take care, folks. Goodbye.
Bye.